Looks like one person, Morgan. Hi, Morgan. Nice to see you on here. You're number one. I'm going to take a little time and wait to see if people shuffle in over the next handful of minutes before I really talk about anything. I really have no idea what to expect as far as who might join tonight. I don't exactly have a large social media following doing things like this consistently in the past, so I don't really know what to expect. Morgan, are you home right now or out on the water somewhere? Yeah, I am. My voice, it's getting cold here, and I am pretty hoarse right now. So I've got tea and a lot of raw honey going to try to get me through this little talk session. What kind of tea, Morgan? I've got throat comfort for obvious reasons. Ooh, out until March. Wow. Nothing done in January. I've got a handful of friends that their dads have had rotator cuff surgery, and it seems to be a pretty long one to recover from, which is kind of surprising. I know a couple friends, some of the neighbors, both women actually, that had um, double hip replacements. And I would have thought that was like the most crazy invasive surgery ever. And it was like they're out driving the roads on their side by side 2 or 3 weeks later and like fully ready to go in 5 or 6 weeks, which is crazy. They cut the entire end of the ball off of the femur, screwed a new one on. Like, I just can't believe how non-invasive that seems and how fast they were able to be back to good health, especially considering both of them are in their mid 60s. Morgan, is my audio okay? I'm actually not able to do this on my cell phone. I guess you have to have 50 subscribers on YouTube to even be able to do a live video from a cell phone. So I'm kind of tethered to my little tablet laptop right now, and I'm not able to use like my microphone, which filters out background noise. So I really have no idea how I sound coming across on the video. So far, Morgan, it's just you and I. This might be a mano-a-mano conversation. Yeah, that's not good. I have a buddy that had to have a rotator cuff done when he was like, well, he abused it for a couple years before he finally had the surgery. He actually injured his longboarding in his early 20s, like a big skateboard, basically going down a big hill, and wiped out and popped it out of socket which apparently caused some issues, did some tearing. And then he just kept having it fall out over and over. Like he would throw trash into a trash can, and just that motion of throwing trash over a dumpster would, like, his arm would just fall out at work. And that was happening. I mean, I think the last one that was like the final draw, he just stepped down off a curb, and like that little jolt as his feet hit the ground, I think the curb was a little higher than he was expecting. That sudden jolt, like, just dropped his arm and popped it out of socket, and he had to have all of that redone in there. But I think he's actually like better now than he even is in his other arm. So yeah, he was only like, I don't know, 26 or 28 when he had that surgery done. It seems like it's not anything that ever gets any better without surgery, as far as I can tell. Man, I'll be honest, I was expecting more than one person. Yikes. Man, I've been pretty lucky. I haven't had any major injuries. Knock on a lot of wood, especially considering what I do. I'm just in constant risk of maiming myself. Of course, all the shop equipment, and there's a lot of really dangerous stuff in here between the lathe probably being the single most dangerous thing of any shop, really. Like a table saw is bad, but like a lathe will suck you into it, like your whole body. So yeah, between lathes and mills, and I've got a huge table saw that will swing a 16-inch blade, band saws, lots of nasty stuff to get hurt on. I've been really, really lucky to never even have stitches, no broken bones, and again, knocking on a ton of wood. Very, very blessed for sure. Yeah, you definitely got to take care of yourself. I do have some neck and back issues. Most of that stems from Klippel fail syndrome that I found out that I had when I was like 18, which is where like two of the vertebrae just fuse together. There's no disc at the top of my neck and two at the bottom, just from birth. And as I've gotten older, like all of the stress and the lack of mobility that's created has really affected like my muscles and my musculoskeletal. So I have a lot of back pain, but if you see me like wrenching my neck in the video, that would be why. Morgan, was it easy for you to find this live video? Because I wasn't exactly, I actually, after I posted the link to my general YouTube, I actually scheduled the live video. So I wasn't sure if it was hard for people to find, like if they just came to my YouTube page. I don't know if there's guys out there that are trying to get on and just can't find the link or what. Lost a good friend to a lathe accident. Yeah. If I had a heart attack and fell into it. Oh boy. Yeah, that's not a good way to go. Wow. I get scared just with the wrench. I saw a video recently that was making fun of, how scared people are about leaving a wrench in a lathe. And he was like on a tiny little mini lathe and the wrench was this big. And sure, that's not a big deal, but like mine's a decent sized lathe and the wrench probably weighs 2.5 pounds. And if that thing kicks out because you left it in, that's a bad day. I did it one time when I was probably 15 or 16. One of my first jobs was at a machine shop. And of course they had warned me, you never leave the wrench in the lathe ever, no matter what. And I left it in the lathe and even turned the lathe on. And fortunately, I always stand off the side of the chuck. And man, it kicked that thing 30 feet room into the side of the wall. I mean, it hit the wall 10 feet in the air. And I've never made that mistake since. That was 20 years ago, and that's all it took. Looked you up on my YouTube and looked you up. Okay. Well, I don't know. We're 11 minutes in now. I'm going to go mosey over to the Facebook groups and make sure there's nobody posting about like having issues finding it or anything like that. Try to make it as straightforward as possible, but also I've never done this before, so I don't really know what I'm doing. We got another couple guys. All right. Get your tractor unstuck. Yeah. Yeah, that one, it's been a long time coming. I haven't had anything stuck in quite a while, and I'm pretty lucky that my neighbor is always there for my back whenever I get something stuck. He's got a decent size, like a 45 horse New Holland. So I'll call him over sometimes. But yeah, that one, I just went and got the backhoe out for it. I've got a real old, like a 72 Ford 4500 backhoe. And that thing's like been the greatest thing I've ever bought. That is just like rusty and trusty. She always starts like no frills. It's got a ton of power and lift capacity. If I can't pick it up with my little TYM, I'll just get on the backhoe. It's not nearly as maneuverable, and it's absolutely massive, especially with the backhoe hanging off the back. But yeah, I was able to get it down to where I got stuck and put about 20 or 30 feet of chain out and pull it out. I'm always concerned when I use the backhoe though, because I'm afraid of literally ripping the tractor in half with as much power as that the backhoe has. You could do some serious damage, and I've had it stuck worse than that one other time. I think there's some pictures in one of the Facebook groups floating around, and I was legitimately afraid that I was just going to rip the tractor in two trying to pull it out of the mud, because it was sunk all the way up to the frame, front to back, tiller on the back completely. It was a mess. So yeah, that actually was not bad at all. I got that unstuck by myself. That wasn't too bad. Had I not had the backhoe, it would have been a rough deal. That's kind of the thing with equipment and machinery, is you find that you always need a piece of equipment larger than your largest piece of equipment to get the other one unstuck. But of course, like, that's an endless cycle, because you can never have something bigger than your biggest thing. So that's, I guess, when you hope your neighbor has something bigger than you have. Brewing Ranch. You guys, is this like beer brewing, or what kind of stuff do you guys do? Brewing Ranch and Farms. Oh, I'm guessing brewing is probably your last name. That probably makes a lot more sense. We got 3 guys in here. I brew beer for himself. Yeah, that's cool. I've never done beer, but I've got a little setup for doing moonshine. I don't really drink anything at all, but I like doing things and learning things. And I would probably use it more for like medicinal stuff, making tinctures and stuff like that, or that's the idea. The couple batches that I've made, I still have moonshine sitting in jars somewhere. I like the process. I like the science and the chemistry of it, and actually building, the components to make the still. So yeah, I've never done beer though. I don't like beer. Beer upsets my stomach. Who else do we got joined us? I can see there's a third person, but they haven't commented. It's kind of a bummer. It doesn't tell me, like, I was thinking that it might give me like a little alert when somebody joins, like with their name or something, but I'm not seeing that. I see just the 2 of you so far. I've got a small copper still for medicinal as well. The copper, that's cool. I just got like a stainless setup. It's not flashy or old school like the copper. That's super cool. It works well. It holds like 8 gallons of mash. Well, a little less than that, so you don't boil it over. But yeah, it's cool. It's a nice medicinal setup as well. Hopefully the feds don't enter this chat, because who knows where we could have ourselves by the end of this conversation. Equipment, machinery, distillation. Man, we're already almost 16 minutes in. I would like to wait for more people, but I don't want to keep guys just hanging out and as I just sit here and babble the whole time. I assume, I sent an email list out. Actually, did either of you guys get an email? I tried to send an email, like a marketing campaign, through my point of sale company it should have been anybody that received or purchased a product within like the last year, so they could come and see these videos. I'm just not sure. I can see where some of them were open, but I don't know. Did you guys see the email come in that like made mention of this video? I thought that would drum up some interest from people that have ordered the front loader kits, because obviously it's I don't know. I'm at a little bit of a loss for words on how long it's taken me. And I've been, obviously incredibly blessed that guys have been super patient. And I'm sure I've got a handful of guys out there that, starting this video, honestly, I was a little nervous because it's a little bit vulnerable, trying to, putting myself out there for potential ridicule, because it's been 5 months since we took pre-orders for these things, and I think the original promise was like 2 months, and it's just taken a lot longer to build the shop out really to get it to where we need. And then I've had a massive issue with trying to keep welders here. Like the biggest thing that we do that I need help with is just somebody welding. All of my time has been dedicated to like actually building out the facility really, and designing stuff. And I still do all of the the plasma cutting and the bending, like all of the technical stuff. I still do all that, and I'm constantly printing out drawings for my machinist. My uncle does all the machining stuff for me. And between that and setting up all this new equipment, purchasing it, going on the road, picking it up, bringing it home, fixing whatever might need fixed, setting it up, wiring it up, building out the facility itself. We still have a 24-foot hole in the side of our shipping container shop here to my left. And it's going to be in the 20s next week for the lows. So we're trying to get like the shop buttoned up to be, functional when it's cold. And it's a lot. It's been a lot more than I ever anticipated. And I never would have taken, pre-sales as early on, knowing that we'd be so far behind. I got an email. The link went to your business YouTube instead. Interesting. My business YouTube. I have a handful of YouTubes, I think, but I'm curious what business YouTube. I thought, yeah, I'm not sure. We never really know how it's going to hit you. You said hundreds of times before. I'm glad you're busy. Yeah, it's I've got like I'm going to talk about it in a little bit if we have anybody that ever really joins where we can kick this thing off. I've got a lot of products that we are waiting to launch that I think are going to be 100 times bigger sellers than what I'm currently doing. Right now, all the products that I sell are niche, as in like they only fit one tractor. I don't sell anything that's universal. It's all specific to one model of tractor. I also don't sell or have any anticipation to sell anything that anybody else is doing. I don't want to be in a race to the bottom as far as price goes. And it's hard to sell your entire product just based on quality. Like even if you're making stuff better than everybody else, there's still plenty of guys that are buying the Chinese stuff. So I really only want to focus on things that nobody else is doing. And obviously there's a need for that because nobody else is doing it. And so I've got a handful of product ideas that are ready, like designed and ready to go, but I can't be advertising, to try to sell new products when there's guys out there that rightly so would be pissed, realizing that, they haven't got their stuff that they ordered 5 months ago. And here I am advertising to sell new stuff. So we've got a ton of stuff that's in the works, more front axle reinforcement kits for the actual like hub shaft issue, like where the stub shaft actually comes out with the snap ring. We are slowly working on an entire conversion kit to change that over to tapered roller bearings and an actual preload nut or bolt that goes into the back of the stub shaft that holds everything into the housing versus the crappy little snap ring design. So there's just so much coming, but I have had a hard time keeping consistent welders in here, even though I'm paying them incredible money. I do have a robotic welder that I added to the shop that I was working on getting wired up tonight. I'll probably get it done after this video and start messing with that. I've got to learn all of the controls, and then I still have to build the jig table for it. But since everything we do is production, I don't do job shop type stuff. That's going to be a massive game changer for me. Once we can get that going, it's like a child can load parts onto a jig and hit the go button and watch it load out. So let's see. Good for me. I love the Ripper Tooth. Good. We sold a couple. That hasn't been like a big seller either. I know they're not cheap, but they're not cheap to make either. I mean, they're not. I know the Expanded has a handful of ones that they sell, and they're significantly cheaper, but I don't think they're made of AR 400 either, though. And then all of the rest of my products, we don't even stock regular mild steel. The only steel sheet that I have is grade 50 Pickler One. So it's basically a higher tensile strength than your regular like 836 mild steel.
We don't even stock any mild steel, like normal mild steel, the cheaper stuff. So, like I said, I'm not trying to be in a race to the bottom, but I also want to make products that guys can afford because, I am far from a rich man myself. So it's hard to find people who want to work. Yep, yep, sure is. I haven't seen one from the BY85 anywhere else. Yeah, my audio tanked because my air compressor kicked on. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna shut the air compressor off. All right. Yeah, I was wondering if anybody was going to notice that the air compressor kicked on, and well, obviously, it's pretty loud. Yeah, I haven't seen one for the BY85. Yeah, I mean that's why I tried to make them because I at the time that I kind of started designing them, there was nobody that made them for sure. Audio's better. Yeah, the air compressor's off now. Of course, it would kick on in the middle of a video. I'm actually kind of disappointed that there's only 4 people watching this live stream right now. I definitely thought we'd have more people that were interested in seeing an update for the product, but maybe the word just didn't get out enough. First 10 people to join get 50% off the axle kits. I would be making them for nearly free then, unfortunately. Surprising how much like the little hardware and stuff really adds up, especially when everything's like grade 8, grade 10.9, custom spherical bearings. Those bearings and cups are fairly expensive. And especially when you're ordering 20 or 40 or 50 of them at a time. Yeah, I definitely figured there'd be more. I still haven't made it to the Facebook page yet to see if anybody's over there saying they can't get in. I tried to make it pretty clear that it was Eastern Standard Time as well, which I actually also had to go verify that I was actually in Eastern Standard Time, which I am. I mean, it is 5 o'clock, and I guess everybody that's west of me would be still possibly at work. So maybe I should have done this a little bit later. I don't know. Well, I mean, do you guys, any of you guys, the 3 or 4 of you that are in here now, have any questions about anything? As far as upcoming products or I don't know, anything. I want to do a shop tour. It's not a whole lot to look at, unfortunately. I'm dreaming of one day having a nice proper 40 by 80 shop, but we've got some pretty badass tools inside of here. The facility itself is just a little bit, we were calling it Little Pakistan for a while because it kind of looks like those videos that you see of the dudes that do amazing work for what they have that are just like out in the dirt in their sandals, like welding stuff and making things. That's kind of how it feels out here. And as it's gotten a little bit colder, we had pizza one day that I got for everybody. And we were all sitting outside around a barrel fire. And I thought, man, it's starting to look like a homeless shelter around here now, a homeless camp. Everybody's sitting around a barrel fire eating pizza. So we'll get there, but man, those guys in the dirt and yeah, they're wild. I mean, when you don't have anything, it's a lot more impressive to see somebody make something when they don't have anything as far as like equipment or, I don't even know if most of those shops have electricity, it's very impressive. I grew up fairly poor, lower middle class. My grandpa, extremely, extremely poor. And so I learned a lot of stuff from him, though the techniques that he would use to do things, because having limited resources makes you pretty resourceful. You figure out how to get by with what you got. And that's a pretty powerful thing. I actually sometimes notice that I recognize in a way that maybe I am losing some of those unique skill sets as I get more and more equipment in here and all this automated and CNC stuff. I kind of feel like I'm drifting away from like that more, blue collar, like work life and I don't know, skill set to something different. Not that it's good or bad, but I do appreciate, being able to make something from nothing. Well, man, I don't see anything in the Facebook pages. Automation is the key. Yeah, that's really what I've been focusing all my efforts toward, is trying to get everything is automated, or like basically the least amount of hands on as possible. Um, we've got, so I guess I can kind of walk through the process of like how we make things. Obviously, it's all designed in the computer, and then the first thing that pretty much, at least all the flat sheet metal gets, is air dryer blowing off. Everything gets plasma cut. If it's sheet, it gets plasma cut the size. Of course, there's some dross on the back side of the plasma cut. So right now we are just hand grinding all it off, and we have hundreds or thousands of parts that you're cutting. It's a considerable amount of time doing that. I have a wide belt sander that's intended to be used with wood, but I don't really do much woodworking anymore. So I am actually going to be repurposing it over the next couple days. Hopefully by this weekend, I got to make some changes on it so we can start using it for steel. So instead of all that time-consuming hand grinding, we'll be able to throw it right off the plasma table straight into the wide belt sander. So that'll really be, increasing our efficiency there. And then from there, most of the stuff goes to the press brake. There's not much else I can do as efficiency goes there, other than just streamlining like how the products are physically moving around the shop, like on carts or whatever. The press brake's pretty straightforward. After the press brake, generally things go to welding. And so that's where I have a massive bottleneck right now, and where our robotic welder is going to come into play, because I can literally have almost anybody, just sticking parts on the jigs. There'll be jigs for every individual piece we make, and different programs in the controller. And you can just stick the parts on the table and hit go. And, assuming everything works like it should, you're welding parts. So being that we're not a job shop and everything's production, we're just doing the same thing over and over. It should make a massive difference. Just tell me something. Yeah. Yep. How about a tumbler instead of a grinder? Yep. I've used a concrete tumbler for a lot of stuff. For some of the bigger, heavier parts, though, like anything that I have that's like 3/8 or half inch. Well, one, I can't tumble all the parts on a large, the little concrete mixer have enough. And I have looked at either buying or building a much larger tumbler. But the problem with some of the real large parts is, unless you have an incredible amount of media in it, which can be fairly costly depending on what kind of get, although it lasts forever. The parts bang into each other and leave like a bunch of dents in them. And obviously it's reflected in the final product. Like they don't sand out or sandblast out. You can see them through the powder coating. So we've done some of that, and it's just too rough on them. And sometimes the slag on the back of the parts, if it wasn't cut perfectly, it could be a pretty hefty like ball of slag on the back if the nozzles has been worn out. And so it's just kind of trying to find the best, all around solution. When we have a bunch of small parts, I'll throw them in the tumbler, the concrete mixer, and we'll let them tumble with some sand or gravel or something like that. And it works really, really well for small parts. So we do that a lot. But some of like the bigger plates that we have, they're like this big. They're not exactly great for tumbling. They just don't tumble well. There's a couple companies that make some pretty large tumblers. They're $6,000 to $8,000. We have looked at, some of those. That's a pretty big expense for something like that. But this belt sander I have literally sitting in the corner with half a day worth of, modifications that should be ready to go. I already have the proper belts for them, the sanding belts to be used on steel. So that's not a massive concern there. And not only will it, take the dross off, but then it puts a nice like brushed finish essentially on the whole entire part, front and back. So we used to have a tub made of a 55-gallon drum and use rocks and sand to the burr. Yep. Thank those Indian guys. Yep. We've done that. Final on cement truck and a whole entire truck. Yeah. There we go. That's what I need, a cement truck out here. tumbling plasma cut parts. There's some companies that make some pretty sweet deburring machines, is what they call them. And so the first thing that they do when they go through on the conveyor is like a slag buster. Basically, it's like little fingers. They're like heavy tungsten carbide, I believe, fingers. And they just knock the slag off. They spin pretty fast and they knock the slag. And then from there, it usually goes through like two different wide belts. So like a heavier grit, maybe like a 36 or an 80, and then like a 120 finish. Puts a nice finish on it. But then what's really cool after that, they go through like I think they call it like a rounding or a smooth edge smoothing. So it's like brushes basically that spin around like this. They spin rotationally, but then the whole entire head that has 10 or 20 brushes on it is spinning. And so not only does it give it a nice brushed finish, but it softens all the edges as well. So like you don't have those nice, like those hard, sharp, almost razor sharp edges after it goes through the sander. Those are pretty nice. I'd love to have one of those one day, but they are pretty pricey. Final home cement truck, and our neighbors would love it. Yeah. Yeah, the neighbors, I have amazing neighbors. Well, the neighbors I have, I live in the sticks. So my closest neighbor, he is, I don't know, a quarter mile away to his house. And then the next neighbor after that is a long way away. But he actually works with me and helps out a lot in here. And so they're very cool. It's a lot of hills too. So the hills cut down on the sound transfer. Who else joined us? I see the number move up and down a little bit. If you join the chat, go ahead and say hi just so I can see your name because it doesn't really tell me who's joining. I can see we have 3 viewers right now. That's all I know. 33 minutes in. Man, yeah, I think this is going to be all we get. Quite a surprise. Best kind of neighbors. Yeah. I'm really, really lucky to have the neighbors that I do. I think that can really make or break living anywhere, particularly in a place like this where you're out in the middle of nowhere. I was pretty conscious of that though when I bought this property in the first year that I didn't live out here full time yet. I was just coming out on the weekends and I tapped maple trees to make maple syrup. And after I had bottled some, I took it and dropped it off at all the neighbors and left a little note, said, I was new and, happy to be their neighbor. And I think that left, I know it did. Some of them have told me that was a pretty good first impression. And I think just simple things like that are things that we can do to start, those relationships out on the right foot. There's also just nasty people, unfortunately, that you might get stuck with. But I'm lucky to not be in that. Post a link to your live feed on the Facebook group. If anybody else starts joining. Somebody just joined. If you joined, comment and say that you joined the group. What's up, man?
What's going on, bud?
Oh, we're in a live chat. Ramon's here. He's getting ready to do some blasting or powder coating.
Yeah.
Right? Everything was blasted yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting a little chilly now, isn't it?
My
My mom told me it was supposed to be in the 20s next week.
Right. I forgot my jacket today.
Yep. I did that with the smoked cheese. Ooh, yeah. Boy, that sounds better than maple syrup for sure. Smoked cheese.
Wait, what?
One of my customers said that I had told a story and he said he'd give out smoked cheese to his neighbors.
See, lactose intolerant. That's kind of one of those things where it's like, all right, it's worth it to suffer.
Oh, for sure. Smoked cheese. What kind of smoked cheese, Morgan? I got to know what kind. Howdy from ETN, Eastern Tennessee. Okay. Awesome. Will Lloyd. Will, have you purchased something from us before? Your name looks familiar. And Will, how did you see the link about the video? I'm curious. I was expecting a lot more people to be watching this live stream. Well, I just assumed a lot more people would want updates on where the hell their product is at after 5 months. And I was ready to sit in the hot seat and get grilled about it. But there's nobody here. Protection kit for your TYM. Okay, a front axle kit. Awesome. Did you see the link for this video like via an email in the Facebook groups? How did you see the link for the video? I'm just trying to figure out like where you guys are coming from. I know we posted in the Facebook groups and there was somebody that had concerns yesterday about getting an update on the kit. And that's kind of what spurred this whole thing. And I thought, hey, there's probably a lot of guys that, or at least a handful, that have the same kind of concerns. I actually talked to another guy on the phone about an hour ago. Stumbled upon it. Fair enough. Somebody else just joined. Who else just joined? Shout out your name. It's not telling me who is actually joining. I can just see the number go up. I'm new to this, so maybe there is a way. I just don't know how, but as far as I can tell. Where's my kit? Well, yeah. Yeah, I was a little bit nervous starting this live stream. Rightly so. I'm not really sure how I would respond personally. Having waiting 5 months for a product. I will say though, if anybody is upset and wanting to do a refund, that's okay, I suppose, although it will hurt me and set us back a little bit. But well, of course, I'm the only one that's making these things, and the price is almost doubled now. All of you guys that purchased up in the beginning, I think most of the kits for like around $800 or something is what most of the guys are paying, like after the intro price and the discounts and blah, blah, blah. Those kits, like for the 574, for instance, it's $1,500 now. I did increase the price. There is no more like massive 25% discount. We ended up having a pressure relief valve that we had to add that I really wasn't aware of in the beginning, that without having it would create some binding issues that could basically tear the kit up. And so like just the components for that relief kit is like $200 or $300 between, of course, because TYM uses these darn JIS fittings for all their hydraulics, which are like unheard of in America. So all of the adapters are crazy expensive. So I've got like $200 just in hydraulic adapters, and then the relief valve, and then like one hydraulic hose. So yeah, if you were to purchase the kit today, it is significantly more than those of you that did get in. I can say that's the only upside to getting in and waiting 5 months, I suppose, is you got a hell of a deal on something that nobody else in the world makes. So you're in there. The parts are all laying around the shop here. It's not some mystical thing. It is happening. It's just, man, it's been a process. It's been, well, I feel every day like nothing's getting done, but then I kind of step back and look, or my neighbors or something will, pull my head out of my ass. And there's been a lot of changes that have happened in the last 4 months. I mean, the ground I'm sitting on now wasn't even flat. Like I'm sitting on 5 feet of fill that I excavated out to even be able to put these shipping containers here, to have this extra 1,000 square feet of space to put all of this new machinery in. So, man, yeah, when we started doing the pre-sales, I never anticipated like doing all of that in such a short amount of time. So it's been a big 4 months, I suppose. Let's see, back to the cheese. Cheddar, horseradish, pepper jack, and provolone. Oh my gosh. We're gonna have to do some horse trading, Barrett or Morgan. I'll have to send you some other products in exchange for some smoked cheese, because you're killing me right now. I have your shipping address. Oh man, yeah. Sweet. How long do you smoke it for? I'm guessing you have like a cold smoker. How do you make your cold smoker? Do you have like an actual like outdoor smokehouse that has like a cold smoker farther away? Or I've seen like all kinds of ways that guys do it to get the smoke cold, because obviously I know you can't do it very warm. Otherwise you fat out the cheese, the oil or whatever in it. Glad when I did. I can't wait to get my loader kit. Yeah, I think it's awesome that you figured out and designed something that TYM dropped the ball. It's interesting. TYM makes these self-leveling loader kits for the exact same tractors in every other country except the US. I'm not really, from what I understand, they used to import tractors here with the self-leveling loader kits, and I guess they just weren't popular enough to keep doing it. And there's a lot of things that we don't get here that other countries do, like Australia. I have a client that I sent a front axle reinforcement kit to in Australia. And what is it, like the 3-in-1 buckets? They're like a clamshell bucket that's 3-in-1. Like that's the factory bucket on his little T25 or whatever from TYM. Comes with a factory like third function and a 3-in-1 bucket. And I believe his also has the self-leveling loader even on the smaller tractors. But yeah, they make them. They just don't ship them to the US. So the 654, I think, is the first size of like the TYM variants that you can get the self-leveling loader on. So there's just not enough need. There's not enough want. They make them. I'm not doing anything. It's like, it's not a novel idea. It's just here. Back last December when we were chatting about the QC, I've done a pile of improvements. Yeah, God, I can't believe that was last December. Days, just like months turn to days, it seems, when you have your head down just like cranking stuff out. Yeah, there's been a lot has happened since last December for sure. I guess that's almost been a year ago coming up on now. I mean, it's like probably every other week, probably on average, like almost every other week, I'm bringing home like a fairly decent sized piece of equipment to try to streamline our production. The most recent was, other than the robotic welder, but I don't have that live yet. The most recent big one was the sandblast cabinet. That was like a massive bottleneck for us. After the welding was just the sandblasting, because we just had a crappy little Harbor Freight blast cabinet, and a little Harbor Freight pressure pot. And when it was working, it worked all right, but the cabinet was small. We couldn't, I mean, like there's a lot of these new loader parts we wouldn't be able to fit in it at all. The cabinet was small. The lighting sucked. The dust collection wasn't great. We burned up 2 shop vacs, sucking, sand dust through those. And then the pressure pot would just plug up like every 5 minutes. I mean, it was like almost, we'd have to do rock, paper, scissors for who had to blast parts because nobody would want to run that blaster. So now, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, I picked up a huge cabinet. This is all used. I buy most of my stuff on Facebook. We're not buying new stuff here, but I think our new cabinet's 5 feet long, 3 feet deep, and like 5 feet tall. So it's massive. And then I separately bought a self-reclaiming pressure pot. That was our biggest problem too, was like once that pressure pot was drained, the hole in the top of the pressure pot was 1 inch in diameter. So then it would take you 30 minutes, 15 minutes just to refill the pressure pot with sand. And then you'd blast for 10 minutes and then you'd have to do it again. The new one actually, there's basically the dust and the sand collectors all built into one. It sucks the dust out of, extracts the dust out of the box so you can see, but then also the sand, it sucks the sand back up into a cyclone filter. The sand drops down, falls on top of the pressure pot. Anytime you release the pedal, the whole tank extinguishes all the air that's in the pressure pot, drops a valve, and then all the sand that's sitting on top of the tank from the reclaimer dumps back in. So you literally never have to stop and fill sand. And the lighting is amazing. Everything about it's better. So that was like that was the most recent massive improvement we've made. But yeah, there's constantly new equipment coming in as we try to, just increase our production and our productivity, being that we only have a couple guys that are in here really part-time. I'm trying to make the most of the time that they are in here. So we've bought some stuff for our packaging, like our shipping area as well. We've got a new table set up that I'm actually at right now. We've got a banding machine now, an automatic banding machine to put like the plastic bands over the boxes to try to help with some of the damage. We got a ton of new cabinets that are behind me that I've installed 2 weeks ago because the shop's a mess because there's just not enough space to put all the stuff I got. It's never ending for sure. All right, back to the cheese again. 10 to 12 hours, cold smoked hickory pellets. Building an actual smokehouse, but use a propane smoker. Huh. Ironcraft 4-in-1 bucket from N. Love it. Yeah, 4-in-1 bucket. Okay, I couldn't remember if there were 3-in-1 or 4-in-1. Well, there we go. The week after I got the hydraulic protection box drilled and bolted on, I drove off a boulder and tested it. It worked perfectly. Oh man, that's what I like to hear. The hydraulic protection box. That's not for me, Will. I think you are confusing me with Jake from not Jake from State Farm. Jake McCall from ITC, yeah, which I guess sounds similar to LDC. Yeah, he's the one that supplies the hydraulic protection boxes and like the under skidding plates and stuff like that. But I'm glad his products worked for you too. We're in kind of similar, situations as far as our manufacturing goes. He's a good bit bigger than I am at this point. Just he's been in the game for a little longer. The biggest thing you can do is not get overwhelmed, compartmentalize, and keep things plugging along. We're trying. It's just tough when I personally have like guarantees to you guys that have purchased stuff, and so that weighs on me a little bit, a little more than a little bit. Can't wait for good workmanship. Yeah, it's tough. No worries, Will. He makes good stuff too. I got a smoke generator from Amazon for like $30. Burns like an ember to generate smoke. That's cool. Yeah, I've seen stuff like that. I've got a couple pellet smokers that I use when we do a lot of my deer processing and stuff to make, bologna and trail bologna and stuff. I've never done cold smoke though. Well, we're hovering between like 4 and 5 guys. I don't think it's gonna pep up anytime soon. I can keep rambling, but I'm sure everybody's got better things to do. Is anybody sitting in a tree stand right now watching this video? Because that's what I'm missing out on right now is the nice chilly night in a tree stand. I think, Morgan, you said it was in the 30s there tonight. I don't know what it's going to get to tonight, but it's cooling down pretty good now. We're probably going to be close to the 30s tonight. 30s here in Shoreline, Connecticut. Yeah, low 30s. I think I saw, or my mom told me that next week it's supposed to be down in the 20s. So, like I said, right now we have a 24 foot by 8 foot door hole, just a hole inside of the building. So we're trying to get that buttoned up before this weekend because, yeah, nobody wants to be running a lathe. The lathe is not even going to want to run when it's 20 degrees out. Morgan says he has a lot of the ITC guards on. Yeah, I've never seen any of them in person. I've seen plenty of pictures, and I've met Jake and talked with him. We actually met up recently at Fab Tech in Chicago. Me and my guys went out there and had a good time and met with Jake and had dinner and just talked about business stuff. Ooh, okay. Here, I see I had a whole thing drawn up so I could try to stay on track because I'm pretty much ADHD. And I don't think we've hit on hardly any of them. One of them was new products. Okay. So I think I mentioned the one already, which is the front axle kits, not the kits like we currently make, but for the actual stub shaft, mainly for the 574. We're really only seeing this issue on the 574 predominantly, where the whole entire stub shaft comes out of the front cover housing. And there's a handful of problems. The type of bearings they use is one of them. It's really just not for the right bearing for the application. They really should be tapered roller bearings and not ball bearings. And then the whole entire thing, it's just crazy that it works as well as it does, honestly. The whole entire axle is just held in with a snap ring. There's nothing that like creates any kind of thrust load or preload on the bearings or a bolt that holds it all into the cover housing. It's just a snap ring on the end of the shaft that holds the whole thing. So that snap ring goes out, bearings rip out, everything rips apart. So I'm working on, we have the products laying on the shelves to do the conversion. I have to sit down and do some more measurements. We actually have a whole hub assembly that we got from one of the dealers. They shipped us off the total tractor so we could use for, putting together this retrofit kit. You would have to ship your axle stubs to me. What we'll likely do is do like a core charge kind of thing where I'll probably purchase some axle stubs from the factory. That way we can machine those out. We'll send those to you. That way you're not like waiting with your tractor down. They'll have I think the only machining you want to do is put a bolt, like threads, drill and tap threads in the back of the stub shaft. That'll be the bolt that basically creates the preload on your new tapered roller bearings. And so that's a kit that I'm working on slowly. Again, I can't really feel like I can do anything else until we get caught up on our current orders. That's one product. The one that I'm really the most excited about that I think is going to be the largest seller of anything I've ever done is a modular ultralight set of pallet forks. There's not a lot of companies that make an ultralight set of pallet forks, and this would be specifically geared toward like the 25 horsepower class of tractor and smaller. Not TYM as much as like most of the other companies, like let's say John Deere, like 1025, for instance. I think they only have a lift capacity, or maybe they're 1023. Their lift capacity is only like 500 or 600 pounds. And your standard set of skid steer quick attach forks, or John Deere in that case, they're like 300 pounds. So you eat up half of your lifted capacity by just hooking on your forks. So we've got an ultralight set of forks that we're working on. I mean, it's pretty much designed. We haven't made a physical product yet, but the CAD's done for the whole thing. It's a little bit unique, so we'll see how the market takes to it. Instead of your traditional forks, they actually use bale spears as the fork because the bale spears are just so much lighter. Like each one of these, I think the 32-inch ones is what I have right now currently. They only weigh like 8 pounds a piece, where your traditional fork, you're looking at like 50 to 80 pounds per fork just for the fork. Then it's a skeletonized frame. There's a lot of cool features on it, just as like a fork plate itself with like a quick receiver hitch for like a 2-inch receiver for moving trailers around. There's spots for hooking chains. But what is really going to set it apart, other than just being one of the only ultralight skid steer quick attach pallet forks out there, is the fact that it's modular and the fact that we will also be offering a couple of different grapple options for it. We'll have like a longer reach grapple that are not as heavy duty, but for doing a brush. So you can utilize that with the factory forks, if you will, or the bale spears. We will also have a shorter, much more robust set of hydraulic grapple on top if you're doing stuff more like logs or a lot heavier brush or rocks. And then you'll also be able to swap out the forks on that same backing plate. You can pull the forks off and you can replace the forks with 2 different lengths of tines on the bottom. So we'll have like a shorter root rake setup where you could literally just like be ripping roots in the woods. And then we'll have like a longer setup that's like the more traditional grapple style tines. So that's something I'm really excited about because it's universal. It's not just specific to one brand or model of tractor. It's something that will go on any skid steer quick attach, machine, whether it's a small skid steer or tractor, anywhere, anything in the world other than John Deere, which we'll probably come out with some John Deere options as well. That's probably the thing that I'm most excited about because it's modular. There'll be like 5 or 6 different things that could be added on to, that one backing plate. Stinger CCG series grapples, and it's awesome. Yeah, I'll look into that. I'm always looking for, other stuff that might be similar. I've had a few people tell me that there's stuff that's already similar out there, and it's not. I've looked, and especially for the small tractors, there's a lot of stuff for the bigger tractors, especially like yours, Morgan, a 66 grapple, but there's nothing that's like really geared for a really small tractor, especially at other brands. It's not as much of a concern with the TYMs because their front loader capacity is crazy. But when you're talking about like a little John Deere that can only pick up 500 pounds, the weight of your pallet forks makes a significant difference. So I think it's been a while since I've looked, but I think our bare pallet forks will be at under 190 pounds for a fairly robust set of pallet forks. And then they're completely configurable as well with all of the root rake and grapple attachments too. I've served my time in a tree stand. I lay on the heated floor in my sunroom with a Grand. You want with an M1 Grand? Dang. See, Ohio's a no rifle state. Pop them at the corn patch, 100 yards. I just recently, last year, I bought a 350 Legend upper for my AR-15. So this will be the first year that I can try to shoot at anything more than 50 yards comfortably. I've always just had like smooth bore shotguns. I usually shoot most of my deer in bow season, but if I make it to gun season, I'm excited this year because my property alone has about 160 feet, 140 feet of elevation change on just my little 16 acres. So I can set at the top, which is like one of the highest hills around, and I'll be able to overlook the entire ravine below and then like the whole hillside, 200 yards away over on the neighbor's property. And I'm good to shoot anything over there as well. So that'll be cool for the first time this year. I'll be able to take a poke more than 50 yards. It's nice having 50 plus acres to hunt on. Yeah, I'm pretty lucky. I mean, my neighbors would let me have full access to anything really if I asked, but I've got so many deer on my little property. Hell, the other night when Ramon came in, when you started working the other night, Ramon, you were in the back or in here working in the shop, and I have a corn pile 50 yards out back from the shop. And there was 3 does out there eating corn at like 5:30 that day, like 2 days ago.
That's probably what I hear rustling back there sometimes.
Yeah, they're easy to hunt when they're just so used to all of the noise for the shop. I have 1,000 acres of swamp behind me, man.
Whoa,
that sounds nice.
Sounds like a mosquito nightmare.
This mosquito nightmare. Ramon does not like the mosquitoes, but it's in Connecticut, so I don't know. Do the mosquitoes get bad out there? I feel like it'd just be cold enough long enough to keep them down. Probably not. Well, gentlemen and ladies, if there are any on here, is there anything else before we go? We're approaching an hour. I think it's probably a good idea to round it out here. We've only had a couple of you guys really be engaged and even on here. This video will be it should just stay up on my YouTube channel. So if anybody wants to come and watch, although we didn't really talk a whole lot about any of the stuff that I was hoping to talk about, but maybe we'll try to plan another one of these if there's some requests for it. Self-leveling kits. I'm guessing that's Robert McNally. What's your question, Robert? We do have them. We are way behind on getting them shipped out. You're welcome to go back and, I mean, this is a long chat to watch. we're working on it. When should you expect delivery? We're trying to get some stuff out within the next like 3 to 4 weeks. If I'm trying to be honest and real on our time frame, we have all of the individual products are cut out, full of machine, like pretty much sitting on the welding table, ready to be welded up. There's just been so much going on. I haven't had, you know, enough consistent welders show up. We've had 3 or 4 welders. One of my guys has some pretty severe health issues, going through renal kidney failure. So he's been out for like 6 months, which was a pretty big killer. We've went through a couple other guys and they just weren't very consistent. It's really been kicking my ass. We do have a robotic welder in the shop now that I'm literally tonight after this video should be getting live. Yeah, I did address some of it on Facebook a couple of times, but I'll go ahead and address it here. Yeah, I mean, you know, I can't say enough about how fortunate I am for the patience that you guys have had. It's clearly been way overdue. So thank you for sticking around and hanging out and toughing it out with us. You know, there is nothing else like it on the market. So we are just cranking away, but it's really just me and Ramon and I, and he's got another full-time job. So, you know, he just got here. It's almost 6 o'clock. He got here and he'll be here for another 3 or so hours tonight. And so I'm fortunate to have him, you know, after getting off a full-time job, coming out here with me every day. But, you know, we kind of talked about in this video, like a lot of my shop stuff. And, you know, right now we have a 24 by 8 foot door open in the side of the building. So there's a lot of logistical stuff and building stuff that we're working on that I kind of have Ramon working on. Yeah, that's a long way to say I'm trying to get them out as soon as I can. That's really our only priority. We don't have other things that we're working on other than the random knuckle and reinforcement kit orders that come in. Once we get our robotic welder online, that's really going to change things for us, not just for like the current orders, but everything in the future. I don't want to have stuff that, you know, I want to have stock on the shelves where orders come in and we're shipping stuff out within a day or two. We're just not there. This has been a massive growth, and we've done a lot more growth and changes in the physical. Like this shop that I'm sitting in now wasn't even here 4 months ago, and I've done all of this on my own, basically, you know, with the help of neighbors and family, of course, off and on. But yeah, that's a long-winded way to say as soon as possible. It's been too long. Doing everything I can to try to get stuff out to you and make it right with you guys. If it makes you feel any better, I mentioned a little bit ago that now the kits are literally double whatever you paid for it. If you were one of the early adopters, they've gone up significantly in price. So yeah, Robert, thanks for joining the group, and you know, thanks for your purchase. But we are working tirelessly to try to get these things out. Any other questions before we log off here? It's been exactly an hour right now. Thank you also. Yeah, Robert, thank you so much. Really, thank you guys. You guys have allowed me to be able to do this. I mean, I love what I do, and it's great to be able to work from home, especially as a single dad, and to have time to watch my kids and focus on my kids. At the same time, it's a lot. We're doing a lot to build this. This is a grassroots effort, bootstrap. There's no loans. There's no help, you know, other than from like my mom, who's a massive supporter, always bringing us food out here and taking care of us and helping me package products. And my neighbor, who is really, really great. And, you know, a couple guys that have worked for me. So it's been a lot of work, but I love what I do. And I love making these things. I do feel pretty crappy about our timelines right now, to say the least. But we are still chucking away. It is not a myth. They are coming. It's going to be awesome when they do. I feel like I'll be overwhelmed with more orders. The orders we do in the future, I think, are going to be a little different. I think we are going to be doing less stuff in-house. I think we're just going to have to outsource some stuff to TubeLaser. Most of what we do that our time is taken up on is like machining work. You know, just cutting. I mean, just for instance, like to build 30 kits of these out, which is what we're currently working on, which is pretty much all of the current orders. You know, 30 kits has like, so we have these one bushings that are like 1 inch in diameter, ID 1.5 inch OD, right? And they're like 3/4 of an inch long. They're the bushings for the pins. just to do those 500 or those 30 kits, there's over 500 of those little bushings that have to be cut on the bandsaw. And then half of those have to get post-processed in the mill and have a through hole drilled through them for like the bolt that holds the pin in. Just that alone, like cutting 500 of that one size, it's man hours that we just haven't had. Unfortunately, I did buy an automatic bandsaw, which made even doing that possible, and that's been great. But we are looking to outsource stuff to Tube Laser in the future, because then it's like we just get parts in a box that are ready to weld together. You know, there's very little post-processing. We'll have to tap some holes for the greasers, but that'll really streamline things for us. It'll kind of cut into our bottom dollar a little bit, but you know, the bottom dollar is dying when I can't start advertising new products because we don't have the current things out the door. So I would love to have a Tube Laser in-house. That is probably the next extremely large purchase that I'm looking to do once we get to that point after getting a proper shop built. There's a lot of other utility for a Tube Laser as well. Tube lasers are not something that are very common at all in the industry. There's nobody within, you know, an hour and a half or 2 hours of me that has a Tube Laser. So aside from doing our own personal products, our in-house products, I can make a ton of money with a Tube Laser. So that is one of our dreams for maybe the next 12 to 18 months, is getting a Tube Laser in here as well as a sheet laser to replace our plasma. But for now, we're just crunching away with what we can. Any last comments? Keep up the good work. Yeah, thanks guys so much. I really appreciate it. Really do. All right, I'm going to go ahead and log off. You guys call me, reach out to me whenever. You know, if I don't get back to you, just reach out to me again. And if I don't get back to you then, just do what John did and post in the Facebook group. That'll get my attention real quick. Thanks guys again. I hope you guys have a great night. Talk soon.